My name is Average Joe, and I'm a proud geek with expertise in movies, superheroes, and animation.
My name is Beef Pork Ribs. I'm a fine repository of esoteric knowledge, which I suppose most people would qualify as geeky. Though I dabble in many fandoms, my main areas of expertise are anime, movies, and Belgian comics, with a strong recent insurgency of D&D.
Our mission is to bring nerd and geek culture to the masses
by sticking it all under the microscope.
Welcome to the Bat Jar Podcast.
Movies, comics, graphic novels, TV, cartoons, animation, nerds are geeks, entertainment culture. Hear it on the Bat Jar, Nerdy Pound. Nerds and geeks, come gather around the scene. Come and join us in the Bat Jar. Come and tune into Average Joe and his team. Lots of room here in the Bat Jar. When the newest nerdy news drops, these podcast pals put it under the scope. DC, Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, cinematic multiverses, Mega Christmas, Grinch's franchise. Hear it on the Bat Jar, Nerdy Power.
Hello there, and welcome to the Bat Jar Podcast, where we put nerd and geek culture under the microscope.
And we always think of new ways to improve ourselves, which I think I had some ideas that maybe if there's a fan request, we could do some deep dives into video game. I've noticed it's something that's a little bit lacking in the nerdy area of the podcast. I was going through old episodes, but for now, we're talking about something else.
You know what? I totally acknowledge that we have not talked as much about video games. That is partially my own fault, and I'm totally open to going there. But Beef Pork Ribs, it's good to hear your voice. You've had some technical issues the last couple weeks, and now you sound smooth as peanut butter. That is not crunchy.
Yes. Smooth as Nutella?
I don't know if you had, I guess like with most things, if you have Nutella long and if it gets pretty hard and you got to really like fight for it to get out of the container.
Yeah, but the Nutella itself is like smooth peanut butter. It's smooth, but there's no such thing as crunchy Nutella. Unfortunately. I feel like...
I don't know. Have you ever eaten like a hazelnut? I feel like they're not meant to be eaten like on their own.
I disagree. That's like basically what Ferrero Rochers are. And I've eaten hazelnuts. I like them. I do understand, though, why squirrels are more fond of them than humans.
Really? Is there an actual reason? I'm so curious now.
Because they have a more earthy taste. I don't know. I do acknowledge that there is a little bit of a bitterness to them, but I actually quite like it, personally.
Is it like a dark chocolate kind of bitter?
No, it's like I said, it's a bit more earthy bitter. It's like almost as if the you've got the nut, but you've got kind of the skin on the nut. Like almonds, sometimes when you blanch the almonds, you take off the skin. I feel like the walnut just has that little extra kick there, which actually might be toxic because I feel like a lot of like almond skin has a toxin if you like compress it. I don't know. I'm trying to remember something that I vaguely remember from probably a long time ago.
Well, I'm very uneducated when it comes to nuts. King Boo, who people might remember as my brother, has the peanut nut allergy, so we grew up with none of those things in our home. And even now, it's kind of an afterthought for me to I don't think to buy like nuts when I'm at the grocery store because I went so long without eating them that unless I'm like using it for a specific recipe, I just don't even think to look for them in the store.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a big nut connoisseur, but we did have mixed nuts around Christmas usually, which I suppose you wouldn't have. So, got a few sampling when I was younger.
Well, speaking of mixed nuts, we can talk about one news story before we dive into our topic for this week. It was announced toward the end of last week that Paramount is making their own streaming service, which has been known. It's been known for a while that this was happening. They previously were running a streaming service in the US called CBS All Access, which is where like Star Trek Discovery and a handful of other shows have been airing. But now they're kind of rebranding it as Paramount Plus, and it's meant to be, as you can imagine, Viacom and Paramount's response to all the other streaming services. So what caught my attention about this announcement, because I don't live in the States, I was interested in the HBO Max stuff because it relates to DC Comics, but with Paramount and Viacom, there's really nothing there that really gets my attention, if you could say. But one part of the announcement for Paramount Plus that got my attention is the creation of Avatar Studios. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about here?
Wait. Is it the good Avatar or the James Cameron Avatar?
The good Avatar.
Oh, interesting.
So what was announced for Paramount Plus is that Viacom Paramount is creating a whole animation studio or production team called Avatar Studios. And they've brought in the original creators of Avatar The Last Airbender to create content for Paramount Plus. So they're going to be first doing a feature-length animated film that will be released in theaters. And then they're also being tasked with creating several animated shows which are set in the world of Avatar The Last Airbender. Couple things to note here. First of all, it's just funny for me personally, having just finished Avatar The Last Airbender in the last month, that all of a sudden now they're going to create a whole bunch of new content for it. So I picked a good time to get invested. And two, we've reported previously that Netflix is developing a live action Avatar The Last Airbender TV show. And initially we were all excited for it because these original creators were involved. And everyone was like, okay, it's not going to be like the live action movie that M. Night Shyamalan did. It's going to be good. But I think it was like a year ago now, those original creators actually stepped away from the Netflix series due to creative differences. So it's interesting that like now we're going to get even more Avatar content because it'll be the live action show on Netflix. But then now we're also going to have this animated content made by the original creators for Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I mean, but let's not get too excited. They were also involved in Korra, and there were... Not that Korra is a terrible show altogether, but it was lackluster in comparison, so hopefully people aren't expecting something that will revolutionize, but it would be nice, though, I'll admit, and if this is what they're doing, that would be great, to get some of the comics done into animated series and to kind of fill in the gap between Avatar The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, because there's a lot that leaves to be desired in between the two. Or a lot of fan favorite characters that didn't get much, get a few flashbacks here and there, but overall haven't really, gotten what the people want. So it's exciting news, but well, it's kind of news mixed with some excitement, I suppose. I don't know. The idea of yet another streaming service being available, once again, making it more and more just like cable TV, except online. I understand why it's being done, but also I don't like it. I am... All these studios are reinforcing my hoarding instincts to just get DVDs of the movies I want to see and not care about TV shows as much.
Well, I mean, we're in Canada, and there are many of these streaming services that are not available here. And what I'm just observing is that due to the smaller market in Canada, everything is kind of just being put on either Crave or Netflix Canada or Disney Plus or Amazon Prime Video. And so it's kind of easier for us here, I guess you could say, because all of this content is becoming available here. It's just there's fewer places for it to go. So I guess it's better for us here. If you lived in the States, if you were paying for Netflix and Amazon and Disney and HBO Max, and then now to get Paramount Plus as well, you're right, it would probably be putting their they'd be paying essentially for cable again, which maybe is not a good idea. I do wonder, though,
not what people want, right? I mean, to be fair, like I said, I do understand why these companies are doing this, and it's a revenue avenue that, especially with theaters not really making it work, does make sense. It's just, it does, yeah. It reinforces my wanting to buy more DVDs.
I do wonder, though, because I haven't seen The Legend of Korra, but I do understand that it's set like 100 years, or it's set many years after the original series. So that if they do choose to do stories about the original cast, they kind of have a very fixed endpoint that they have to work towards, which makes me wonder if they're going to do what they did with Star Wars and just sort of like, I don't know, abandon the pre-established canon to like go in a new direction.
But I mean, Star Wars also did not go that far back, relatively speaking, right? Like, it went, 30 years back?
Well, I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, when they announced the sequel trilogy, they said none of the stuff that is in the comics or the books about what happens to Luke and Han and Leia after the original movies will be considered canon anymore.
Oh, you mean, okay, I thought you meant the original prequels trilogy. Yeah, but, I mean, look, how well did that go over with the fans? Also, I don't know. If I were building up on Avatar Studio, I'd build up on the original, not on the series that everybody had at best mixed feelings about. Also, I mean, not to spoil too many things for you, but they kind of wreck the entire lore at the end of Korra, so they can't really do things after Korra.
So you're
They
saying we
follow
should
the
they
final
retcon
episode of
Korra?
Fullmetal Alchemist, the original series.
Oh. So should they just retcon Legend of Korra as they're developing content for Avatar Studios?
I mean, that would definitely be my my push. But I think there's enough, like, again, there's 100 years there. There's a lot, like, even if you put in, like, what the flashbacks are doing, there's still a lot that you can add in. There's a lot of room for wiggle, and I can't remember if any of the comic storylines are explicitly made canon in Korra, but none of them are explicitly denied or anything, as far as I can remember. And the comics run did a pretty decent job. And to be fair, also, they were kind of the true sequel to Avatar The Last Airbender because, well, it must be fresh in your memory, at the end of the last episode, Zuko goes to his father and asks where his mom is. And the comics, well, not all of them, but the most popular comic series that came afterwards is actually Zuko finding his mother.
Okay. Well, there you go. It's very early days for Avatar Studios. We just know that they're making a feature-length animated film. We'll obviously find out more, and we'll find out how Paramount Plus does. It's supposed to launch in May. There's like a Frasier revival and a couple other things that were announced for this streaming service. So the streaming war continues.
And the only losers are us.
So a few weeks ago, we did kind of like an episode providing hindsight for 2020, looking back at everything that had happened in that year. And at the end of the episode, I kind of asked you, it's like, oh, should we do something about 2021? And re-listening to the episode, you made a point of saying, well, maybe we should just kind of talk about things as they happen instead of a full episode, which admittedly I completely forgot about when we recorded last week's episode. And I just sort of told the audience that we were going to talk about 2021 movies. So I apologize to you, Beeper, for kind of
You're undermining my authority.
Yeah, sorry about that. But we're trying to have an optimistic tone here because we are going to talk about movies that are currently scheduled to be released in 2021. And it is funny to do this because I watched a video today, was like top 20 anticipated films of 2021. And literally in the 2 months since the video was posted, several of the release dates mentioned in that video have changed. In fact, some of the movies that were in that top 20 have now been pushed to be released in 2022. So full acknowledgement that like a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today, it's true as of the end of February 2021. So if you're listening to this, I don't know, 3 years from now, give us some patience. This is kind of like what we understood at the time. And who knows, some of these release dates might change tomorrow when this episode goes out. So again, this is all based on information we have available to us as of right now.
We are expecting this to age poorly.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm hopeful because like in the US, like my uncle who lives in America has already gotten his 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. It seems like there are more and more places that are opening up and allowing for movie theaters to open. And you know what? Like I got an email just this past week that the movie theater that I go to is now reopening. So hey. I'm like, I can go to the movies now. And I want to be, I mean, not to say I want to be optimistic. I'm hopeful that, theoretically as the vaccine becomes more available, as people kind of like learn how to live in this current reality, that things like going to the movies will be made available again. I don't know what it's like for you out in Alberta, BPR, but
it is also slowly starting to roll out. There's a little bit of issues with not as many vaccines being available as was first expected, which is kind of shuffling around who's getting them, but my brother, who is a nurse, has gotten both of his shots, so it is happening slowly but surely.
So when we did this last year and we talked about movies being released in 2020, we gave them all bat cookies or bat noogies, and we got bat cookies if we were excited for the movie and a bat noogie if we weren't. So we're going to do that again. Looking at the list, I think there are more cookies for me than noogies. And we are going to start with the movies that we've already talked about, meaning these are films that were meant to be released in 2020, but were not because of COVID-19. And I want to start with the movies that have had the longest delays, that are, again, could be delayed again, and are meant to be released this year. So we have a couple movies here that have actually, like, from their original release date, been delayed about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So Top Gun Maverick, the long-awaited sequel to the original Top Gun movie, was originally supposed to come out in July 2019, and it's now going to be released on July 2nd, 2021.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long time in the making, or in the remaking, as it were. Still 2 full years. Who knows, though?
Bat
feel
cookie
like
for me.
This is definitely one of those that, like, why are they still pushing it back if it's ready?
Well, just to say this for all these movies, like, most of the movies we're talking about here are like major blockbusters, and the studios are probably delaying releasing them because they want to make the most money possible. And that means that they make the most money possible when more people can go and see it. And that means fewer restrictions, better monitoring of COVID-19. So I guess it's still worth Paramount's money to sit on this Top Gun movie. For me, though, at this point, based on the trailers that have been made available, it gets a bat cookie. I really want to see this, and I hope they just put it out already.
I mean, I'll say, like, it is something that's somewhat exciting, but at the same time, it's a remake movie that, like, I don't know. I think people are starting to get a little bit of fatigue on remakes already to begin with, so pushing it back, I don't think has done it any favors.
Well, it's not a remake. It's a straight sequel, just kind of decades later. So, like, Tom Cruise is in it. He's Maverick, but he's like
still a remake. You know what I mean? Like, it's still banking on nostalgia to work.
I see. Okay.
So is what I mean. Like, not necessarily remake directly, but so who knows? It still might be exciting. I give it like
Is it a Thin-sation bat cookie for you?
Yeah, that's what we say. I was gonna say half bat cookie, but I knew we had something. Thin-sation bat cookie.
Okay. Another movie that was supposed to be originally released in November 2019, which is now currently set to be released in October 2021, is No Time to Die.
That one's even worse because they had the 2 full press releases for the last day as well. I feel like that movie is just never gonna make that money back. Especially considering it was like, I don't know. Look, I was already a little tired of Daniel Craig, and Daniel Craig was a little tired of being James Bond. I'm not even sure I would have gone to see it when it originally came out. So I don't know. I think this one has to be a bat noogie for me.
Yeah, I've heard that they've already lost money on this one. So they should. Let me put it this way. They should not delay it any further. Like, just whatever the situation is like in October, put this movie out. For me, it's still a bat cookie. I like Rami Malek. It seems interesting. And it does seem to be like the last Bond movie with Daniel Craig. So it'll be a nice little swan song for him. The song that Billie Eilish did for this is already like, it's like being nominated for Grammys now because I guess the song was released before the movie. So there's already signs of this movie getting old.
You know what I mean? Like, James Bond theme songs are, they're very of their time, and this movie is already being released almost 2 years later. Like, that's, you know what I mean? It's kind of a problem if it gets pushed back anymore. Billie Eilish won't be popular anymore, and that song will be from her last album instead of her current album. And I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get what I mean. It's kind of strange to have that.
Yeah, still a bat cookie for me though. Another movie that's been delayed for almost 2 years. It was originally supposed to come out in November 2019, and at this point, it's meant to be released in August 2021. The King's Man, which for anyone who might forget, this is meant to be a prequel to the Kingsman movies that explains how the Kingsman got started. I've never thought this was a good idea. This is a big bat nuggie.
I'm going to give it a Sensation Bat Cookie just because it looks like good trash and fun. And I feel like a lot of the movies that have come out were just trash and not fun. So I'm hopeful that it might have that kind of like, it's dumb, but it knows it kind of feel. Like, you know, when it's done properly, it gives you Men in Black. When it's not, it gives you Hellboy.
Hellboy 2019, because that's
Yes.
the bad one. Yeah, and this is another one. It's like, just put it out. Like,
And if it's
no
needed,
one
it gives you Hellboy Golden Army.
just put it out, guys. Like, no one wants to see this. Either that or just shelve it. Just like put it up, like throw it onto a streaming service. Never release it in theaters.
And who owns it?
I believe it's Fox, so it's like Disney.
Oh, yeah. Well, they don't need the hype on Disney Plus, so maybe not. Yeah. Just release it. Make it hype for stars.
Another movie that's delayed essentially 18 months, originally meant to come out in March 2020, is now coming out in September 2021. A Quiet Place Part 2.
I haven't seen the first one, but from everything I've seen, I did not want to see it, so I don't know why it got a sequel.
Well, Ben the Movie Buff really hypes this movie up. He did a whole video on his channel about it. I've heard good things about it, especially like how the movie incorporates sound. But I feel like now, knowing how the movie ends, I've also haven't seen it, so I'm kind of lost. And now seeing like trailers for the sequel, I'm like, okay, well, I know what this surprise in the first one is, so I'll give it a Thin Station Bat Cookie just based on how I know other people appreciate it.
I'm still giving it a Bat Noogie, but I do trust Ben, so it probably does interesting things, but those interesting things are not worth it to me.
And the final movie that's meant to be released in 2021 that's had more than a year delay is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was meant to come out originally in July 2020, and it's now currently going to be released on November 11th, 2021.
Did we talk about this one originally?
Well, yeah, because it was in the movies coming out in 2020.
I don't even remember. I'm looking at this list. Most of them I kind of remember, but some of them I don't at all.
Well, have you heard at all about Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I mean, last time we talked about it, presumably I did.
Okay, so here's the plot. Okay, it's modern day, but set in the universe of the original Ghostbusters franchise. And it's set in a small town. These family moves there, and there's ghosts about. And Paul Rudd is there as this guy who's like a huge fan of the original Ghostbusters. And it's basically about kid Ghostbusters with Paul Rudd kind of helping them out.
I mean, when you put it like that, I'll give it a Bat Cookie. It sounds like a better concept than any of the other ones on this list, so...
Well, and people disliked the 2016 Ghostbusters movie in part because it was divorced from all connection to the original movies. It was literally just a modern day remake, and people were hoping it would be like a sequel in the sense that it's set in the same universe. And this one seems to be doing that. So Bat Cookie for me. We're going to blast through a bunch of movies that we talked about previously that are, again, supposed to have come out in 2020, and they're now basically having been delayed into 2021. And the delays are about a year from when they were originally meant to come out. So, and we're just going to rapid fire through these really quick, and we'll comment on them as a group. So BPR, Black Widow, Bat Cookie or Bat Noogie?
Bat Noogie.
At this point, for me, it's a Thin Station Bat Cookie. Jungle Cruise.
Bat Noogie.
For me, still a Thin Station Bat Cookie. Dune.
Based on the trailer, I have to give it a Bat Cookie, but I'm still not expecting it to be good.
It's only adapting the first half of the book, I learned recently.
Oh, that...
Oh no, have I changed it for you?
Well, because that means they're baiting a sequel instead of trying to make a proper movie. So, I don't know. No, I'm still gonna keep it where it's at.
I know nothing about it, so for me, it's a bat cookie. Halloween Kills, the sequel to the 2018 Halloween.
I mean, I think Bat Cookie, but I don't really like horror movies, so I probably won't see it. But it's something that sounds more appealing.
Honestly, Bat Noogie. Horror movies are not my thing. Couldn't care less. The Eternals.
Is that the
That's the MCU movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, Bat Noogie. Yeah, Bat Noogie, because of when it was supposed to be released, it has nothing to do with some of the newer things that are happening that are exciting.
To me, this is how I feel about the Eternals, like I did about the original Guardians of the Galaxy. I had zero expectations. I knew nothing of the comic was based on, and I was able to enjoy the movie. So at this point, I'll give it a Thin Station Bat Cookie. And finally, the Steven Spielberg West Side Story.
I mean, Thin Station Bat Cookie. I'm not very invested in this, but hopefully it can undo some of the damage Cats did.
Yeah, I'll give it a Bat Cookie. I like a good musical. So all those movies we just mentioned, they're coming out roughly a year later than they originally planned. So like, for example, Black Widow is still coming out the first weekend in May, as opposed to, the first weekend in May last year. Looking at those movies, I think Black Widow is already kind of past its prime. We've talked about that already. So if they don't release it in May, they're really kind of, I don't know what they're thinking at this point.
Honestly, they should just put it on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It should have been on Disney Plus a couple months ago, let's be honest.
Yeah, and probably the same for Jungle Cruise. Like, I don't see how delaying that movie further would actually grow its audience. It would probably make a good sell for Disney Plus, especially since it's based on a theme park ride. And there's a handful of movies that are coming out in 2021 that were delayed from 2020, but the amount of delay that they're receiving is actually less than a year. So it's actually at this point, it's not a huge deal for them. For example, Free Guy. We've talked about this before. This is the Ryan Reynolds video game movie. It was originally supposed to come out July 2020, and it's currently going to be coming out in May 2021. So from its original release, it's not even a year that it was delayed. I'm excited for this. It seems interesting. This is one they've also marketed several times, so they're probably going to start losing money on it.
I'm still excited about it, but just recalling the trailer, I think it's going to be dated. I think there's some things in it. There are some games that it references explicitly that are not at the apex they were at when it was originally going to come out. I think it's already starting, which is hard to do when you're trying to reference video games because some of them fall in and out of popularity very quickly. And I could be wrong, but I don't think anybody plays Fortnite anymore.
I think kids still do, from what I understand.
I don't know. I work in a high school, and it's nowhere near where it was a year ago.
Right. So should this one, if this doesn't meet the current May release date, should it just be thrown on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Another movie that is, again, delayed, but not by less than a year. We have Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which was supposed to come out last October, and it's now coming out at the end of June. I don't know. Woody Harrelson is Carnage. The only thing that's kind of giving me hope for this is that Andy Serkis is directing it.
I mean, I still haven't seen the first one, but from the sound of it, it was just a fun movie. And if they can get that going, I think, with all the, it's not that superhero movies are not fun right now, but it's just they're trying to put so much more in it. I think just having a Carnage, even if it's just Venom versus Carnage movie, I just watch it. It's like AVP. It's just nah, you know what? I know it's going to be dumb. I know it's going to probably be terrible, but I want to see it.
Yeah, but part of me is still frustrated that this movie is just a reminder that Sony still has a stranglehold, if you will, on the Spider-Man property. And so they're just going to keep making movies for the sake of trying to milk the money out of the Marvel characters they own. And so like the fact that Spider-Man won't be involved in this, I've said this before. I think Venom and Carnage work best as characters when they're in contrast to Spider-Man. I know I'm not in the majority there because this movie's being made, but
I don't know if you're in the minority just because the movie's being made, but I think it is a better idea to have Carnage and Venom in a movie than just Venom had alone. I think the concept there works better to have like more than one symbiote fighting, as opposed to having one of the symbiotes without Spider-Man.
And I forget, did you say if this was a cookie or a noogie for you?
Cookie.
Okay. And then we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which again was originally supposed to be released in February 2020 to be aligned to the start of the Chinese New Year, but it's now being released in July.
I'm going to give it a Thin-Sation Bat cookie, mostly because it's something that could work and add something different to the MCU than what it currently is working with. It's, looking more at their large amount of vigilante-ish people, which they've only really explored in the TV shows. Thin-Sation Bat cookie, but I'm not expecting much out of it.
I'll give it a full-on bat cookie. There seems to be enough interesting things going on here, like the martial arts angle and the fact that a Canadian is playing the main character, and it's going to kind of resolve the mystery around who the real Mandarin is in the MCU. So that's enough for me to make me want to watch it. So those are all the major, air quotes, major releases that I can tell were meant to come out in 2020 that are now coming out in 2021. But in addition to those, we obviously have movies that are always meant to be released in 2021. So with all of these, some of them have had their release dates kind of shuffled already towards the end of the year. But among this list of major releases, there were only admittedly like a handful of things that I could see were either new ideas or adaptations of something for the first time. So we'll talk about those first. The first one being Disney's latest animated movie, Rhea and the Last Dragon, which is getting its release this coming Friday, March 5th. I'm really excited for it. The trailers make it look cool. I really liked Moana. It's one of my favorite Disney movies, and this seems to be in the same kind of ballpark. So it gets a big bat cookie from me.
Yeah, I think bat cookie for me as well. Do you know if it's going to be premium?
So it's going to be released in theaters and for the premium access on Disney Plus.
Well, we'll see how that works out for them. But yeah, no, it looks like a solid movie.
Yeah, like if nothing else happens in the next week, I fully intend to go to the theaters next weekend to see this movie because it looks awesome. In August this year, we're going to get Paw Patrol the Movie. I believe it's animated.
I don't know. I sincerely hope so, but also am much more likely to watch it if it isn't. So I don't know what to think about that. I mean, it's Paw Patrol. It can't be any good, but if it's a kids movie, nobody expects it to be, unfortunately.
Well, Paw Patrol is insanely popular, and Rescue Bots is our most popular Bachelor episode. So who knows? Maybe we should cater to that section of our fan base and do an episode on the Paw Patrol movie when it comes out.
Look, if the movie theater is open in August, I will probably have the time. I will also have a very young baby in my house, so we'll see what's going to be done.
For me, this gets a bat noogie. Obviously, I'm not in the target audience for it.
Oh yes, for me as well.
And a movie that is live action that I think should be animated is this Clifford the Big Red Dog movie that's coming out in November.
I wonder if they're going to have a Sonic situation where people get upset enough about the shade of red that they change it.
Well, there was like an initial reveal of the logo, and you see what Clifford looks like in the movie, and he is admittedly a more
maroonish red.
Yeah, like a muted, not as bright red. It still looks bizarre though. I still
don't understand how anybody wrote a script around, like, is it around several Clifford books? Is it around the Clifford universe? I'm baffled as to. I think because it's one of those things. It's like when they made the movie for Where the Wild Things Go, and I'm like, but that is a wordless book that's about 10 pages, and you're made a whole movie. I'm not against it. I'm confused as to what you're gonna do.
Yeah, it's a bat noogie for me.
Yeah, it's a bat noogie, but I'm staying hopeful that it'll be so bad it's good.
Yeah, and I know I said these are like the three like air quotes new things. There were other movies on the release schedule I looked at, but I didn't know what the titles were. So perhaps there will be, some original ideas that kind of pop out and surprise us all when they get released. But for now, those are the ones I noticed to mention. We're going to now move into talking about remakes and reboots that are coming out in 2021. The first one we're going to get is, of course, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, or some people call it the Snyder Cut. That's going to premiere on March 19th on HBO Max in the US and Crave in Canada.
I don't know. I feel like, look, there have been director's cuts, DVDs that come out, and it almost never makes that much of a difference. I still don't think it's worth a full-out release. I think this should literally just be a DVD. I know DVDs aren't a thing, but then just put it on your streaming service as the director's cut as opposed to the original cut. Like, like how Lilo and Stitch has a pizza box instead of an oven. Just make it the special cut that's catered to people who complain enough to get it.
Well, apparently it's like 4 hours long, so it's like, there's
how
a lot.
Is that better?
Well, I'm very hopeful for it. It gets a bat cookie from me.
It gets a bat. It gets a bat noogie for me. I'm sorry. I also, hearing that it's like 4 hours long, all I can think of is the meme about, how long would 300 be if you didn't have all the slow motion.
All right.
I'm expecting a lot of slow motion in this cut.
Mortal Kombat is coming out on April 16th. We had a conversation not too long ago about video game movies, and based on the trailer that exists for this, it looks like it could be a really good movie.
I know, but it's not just that it's a video game movie. It's a Mortal Kombat movie. They're a special kind of bad, the ones that exist. So it's not that the Mortal Kombat story is particularly bad or can't be adapted into films. So maybe with proper martial arts and proper special effects, it could work.
Have you seen the trailer?
I have not seen the trailer.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's
okay. I will look at the trailer. I'll give it a sensation bat cookie based on your recommendation. But this movie has everything going against it.
Yeah, but it's a bat cookie for me for now. I wasn't sure if to call this a remake or not, or a sequel or prequel, but Cruella, this movie where Emma Stone is playing a young Cruella de Vil, is coming to Disney Plus on May 28th.
Some villains don't need to be relatable. Cruella de Vil was one of them.
So
her name is Cruella de Vil. Like, you know what I mean? At some point, you have to be like, no, that this villain doesn't. I mean, I suppose Maleficent also was very evil, but I feel like it worked for Maleficent because Maleficent had no personality at all in in Sleeping Beauty. Therefore, adding a story to her was possible. Cruella de Vil is full of personality and very opinionated, very outspoken about her opinions. It makes it a lot less. I don't know. I feel like. Why not just? So
this doesn't sound like it's getting.
This is a bat noogie for me. I mean, there's a lot of Disney villains I would want to see movies based around. She is definitely not one of them.
There's a trailer for this now, and apparently after it released, like all of a sudden Harley Quinn was trending on social media because I guess the way Emma Stone looks and the way the performance comes out in the trailers, like, it made people think of Harley Quinn. So I don't know.
Well, that makes it even worse, in my opinion. Cruella de Vil has nothing in common with Harley Quinn.
I'll give it a thin station bat cookie. I mean, it could be good. There's a remake of a horror movie called Candyman that is coming out in August.
I did see the trailer for that one.
Produced by Jordan Peele, who's been kind of making a name for himself in the horror movie scene the last couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see if it was a fluke. Bat cookie. That looked like the trailer looked really good, and it looked like it was gonna be a solid, not just cheap thrill horror movie.
Yeah, that gets a bat noogie for me. I mean, the trailer looked good, but there's bugs and stuff, and I don't do well with bugs, so there's no way I would end up watching that. And then something else we talked about, that video game, another video game movie, Resident Evil. So this is not related to any of the sequels. This is a straight up reboot of Resident Evil, coming out September 3rd. I won't see it.
Same thing as Mortal Kombat. Have you seen the Resident Evil movies?
No.
I have. Again, like Mortal Kombat, not a good history there. Again, maybe with proper visual effect. Well, no, because actually the Resident Evils did not suffer so much from bad visual effect. It was mostly bad acting, bad script, but like that movie has a mountain to climb. So, and I find that the Resident Evil storyline is less compelling personally. Not that Mortal Kombat is super compelling, but at least it's got deep lore. Whereas Resident Evil, I think, yeah, I'd bat noogie for that one.
Yeah, bat noogie for me, just again, I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I'm sure Ben the movie buff who loves horror movies is kind of writhing in pain somewhere right now. And now getting into sequels and prequels and sidequels that are coming out in 2021. The first one we have on the docket at the end of March is Godzilla vs. Kong.
They're really, really trying to make this kaiju and kaiju universe a thing. I don't know. So here's the thing. I think this has the potential to be a really good movie. But on the other side, the last Godzilla movie wasn't terrible. It was just forgettable. And I'm scared that this movie is also going to just be forgettable. It's just going to be like, oh, this happened. And then people will stop talking about it. So I'm giving a sensation bat cookie, but I have really low hopes for it.
I'm excited. I haven't seen any of the movies in this universe. Like, I haven't seen any of them. But I'm excited for this idea of Godzilla and King Kong fighting. And the composer for the movie confirmed that there's like an 18-minute fight sequence between the two characters. So even if they team up and work together to fight some other threat after that, I'll be satisfied with just those 20 minutes of them beating each other up. Back cookie.
Fair enough.
A sequel or prequel, or spin-off, I'm not even sure what it is. Spiral from the Book of Saw comes out in May. I could care less. I've seen a couple of the Saw movies and they creep me out, so I'm just gonna give a big old bat noogie right now.
Yeah, me too. I haven't seen any of the Saw movies, but I know enough about them to know that adding more lore is just going to affect them negatively.
We have the week after that, at the end of May, we have F9. Can you guess what that is?
I mean, does it have to do with racing in the future?
It's Fast and the Furious, so I don't know if there's the future yet, but
oh, never mind. Okay, I was thinking about the video game F-Zero, where Captain Falcon comes from.
Right.
Nope. Yeah, bat noogie. I automatically give bat noogies to all Fast and Furious movies.
Oh, I love it so much. Big bat cookie. John Cena's coming in. They're bringing back characters from Tokyo Drift who haven't been in a movie since 2003. I'm excited. What I'm not excited about, though, is...
Can we just... It's just a bat noogie.
Wait, we gotta at least say what the title is.
Do we?
Well, here, I don't even want... Here, you say it. I don't want to say it.
It's Illumination Studio. Guess what it is? It's a bat noogie. It's fine. I'll say it. It's Minions: The Rise of Gru. Again, villains whose backstory I want to know. Not one of them.
Yeah, Yeah, so this is coming out the same weekend as Top Gun Maverick. So definitely some hard competition for family's attention, I suppose.
Is Top Gun going to be a family movie?
Maybe. I don't know,
I feel
actually.
like it's not. I feel like it's going to be very divided.
Yeah, Bat Noogie. I don't want to see another Minions movie. And then, but an animated movie that's a sequel that's coming out after Minions 2 is Space Jam: I think it's called like A New Legacy.
Look, Space Jam was fun when we were kids. And when there was a basketball star who was internationally renowned, the concept makes absolutely no sense to make. Like,
But it's got
cares
LeBron
about
James. Everyone likes LeBron James.
No, the only basketball star that could have made that work, unfortunately, passed away. So no,
But it's produced by Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther, and he directed the first Creed. So surely we can trust him.
Oh man, that makes it sound even worse. I don't know. It just makes it sound like he is definitely the wrong director. Not that he's a bad director. I think he's a good director, but he is the wrong person to pick to make a sequel to Space Jam.
Well, he's the producer. He's not the director here. So
fine, but still, it's those movies have serious impact and themes. This is Space Jam. This is also. Does anybody know who the Looney Tune characters are anymore? I feel like there's too much separation between the last thing that was made with Looney Tunes and this for it to actually work.
Well, it gets a bat cookie from me.
It gets a bat noogie for me.
August 6th, we have The Suicide Squad. So this is, again, the version that's being directed by James Gunn. It's kind of a sequel to the original one in the sense that it has some of the same actors. I'm excited for it. I mean, everything I've seen, the large cast, the variety of characters they're bringing in, like Polka Dot Man and Peacemaker. It sounds like the kind of DC comic book movie I've wanted to see, where they really just embrace all the wacky zaniness of the characters.
I feel like it's going to be a good movie, and that I'm going to enjoy watching it. But I also feel like it was, I don't know, I have kind of an issue with all the marketing that was made around it, being around James Gunn and trying to say, look, this guy did well with Marvel, now he's doing well with DC. I know it wasn't explicitly like that, but it had a lot of those undertones to it. So, like, yes, Bat Cookie, I think it's going to be a great movie, but I also don't know if it's going to do, to the DC universe what Guardians did to Marvel, and if people are expecting that, then they're going to be disappointed.
In late October, we're getting Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins.
So, this is a prequel to the reboot?
Well, that's an interesting question, because the G.I. Joe Retaliation, which was the second G.I. Joe movie, was a soft reboot in the fact they kind of like eliminated most of the characters from the first movie and just sort of went on their own. I think this is, I'm not sure if this is meant to be a prequel to that series or if this is like a prequel that's going to like launch a new G.I. Joe series.
I mean, look, it can't be as bad as most of the other 80s cartoon movies, and they managed to do really well at the box office, so
I'm excited. Snake Eyes is cool.
Snake Eyes is cool. Is it
It's not Ray Park. It's some guy named Henry Golding, who's like a young.
Oh no, I was wondering if it was going to be directed by Michael Bay, like every other 80s.
No, he's not involved.
Reboot. Oh, then Bat Cookie. Snake Eyes is cool.
Yeah, at this point, it's a Thin Station Bat Cookie though, because I'm not super invested in it. But what I am invested in.
Dwayne Johnson. No, because he would be later anyways. Yeah, the timelines don't work.
But what I am interested in is Mission Impossible 7, which is now being released on November 19th.
At what point does Tom Cruise start turning Mission Impossible into the Expendables?
That's a good question. I mean, it's
a philosophical question that goes with this movie. I mean, I like the Mission Impossible movies. If Simon Pegg is still involved in them, I will watch it.
And I mean, I'll give Mission Impossible credit. It with Fast and the Furious are like, they're two franchises that have kind of lasted through several decades. Like, if you really think about it, the first Mission Impossible came out in 1996, and then they had sequels in the 2000s, the 2010s, and now they're having a movie come out in the 2020s. That means that this franchise has spun out over a period of 4 decades.
That's true. I mean, it's no James Bond, but neither one of them has really changed actors yet, too, which is a little unnerving. So, which again brings to the question, you know, how long until it becomes like watching a washed-up action hero doing an action movie? I don't know, but yeah, we can give it a pass and a bat cookie.
Bat cookie. The movie that has already sparked a lot of conversation for us on the podcast, the new Spider-Man movie. It has a title now. It was announced this past week. Spider-Man No Way Home. It's currently scheduled to be released on December 17th. And I hope and pray that it actually comes out that day, because I am so excited. This gets like 5 bat cookies.
Oh, and close to your birthday, too.
And yours, in a sense.
I mean, yes, what is close to your birthday is close to mine. But I'm less excited about Spider-Man than you are. However, yeah, I think, man, neither on the podcast nor outside have we spoken about the last, like, 4 episodes of WandaVision, eh? But no, I think it could be some exciting things happening. So, yeah, that cookie for sure.
And the last 2 sequels that are coming out before the end of the year, supposedly on December 22nd, again, kind of a Minions Top Gun situation. We have Sing 2 and The Matrix 4.
I don't think Sing did as well as Minions did.
No, it didn't.
Sadly.
I enjoyed Sing. Like, that's where Taron Egerton did his audition for Rocket Man, basically, because he plays a character who does an Elton John song.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Sing. I didn't like it either, though. It was a fine, mindless children's movie, but it wasn't anything particularly good, and it wasn't nearly as inspiring as it thought it was or was supposed to be. But it was passable. So, Sensation bat cookie for Sing 2.
Yeah, I'll agree. Sensation bat cookie for Sing 2. I have not seen any Matrix movies. I understand the plots of all of them because I've watched people recap them on the internet, and I understand how significant they were.
If we're going to cover The Matrix 4 on the podcast, you need to watch the first 3.
That's
and we
true.
need to do an episode on it.
That's true, yeah.
Listen, this is something you need to do. Is Keanu Reeves returning?
Yeah, he and Carrie-Anne Moss and I think Lawrence Fishburne are back.
Oh, I'll watch it then to complete the set. I'm not expecting a whole lot. I feel like it's... The Matrix, I mean, okay, first off, The Matrix has not aged well. Neither as a movie nor as a concept. And it's aged even more poorly now that I have a degree in philosophy. And so... I'm going to approach The Matrix as a fun, John Wick-like action movie, which Keanu Reeves is going to carry. And if so, bat cookie. If it tries to be philosophical again, I think it deserves a bat noogie.
Well, isn't there a major concern for this? Because from what I understand, the first one came out, it was a great big success on all levels. And then they filmed 2 sequels back to back, and it sounds like people don't like those or that they're not good. So why should we be excited about a 4th movie?
Because they took the time to... I don't know. Well, look. When it takes longer for a sequel to come out, either it bombs completely or it's great. You know, a lot of people got really excited about the Blade Runner sequel. Bill and Ted, people got pretty excited about it. I'm thinking of that one specifically because of Keanu Reeves, but it, you know, then you get things like Incredibles 2 that not so much, but I think that
I loved Incredibles 2.
I liked it. There were just major problems with it, and it was nowhere as good as the first, but I think that's also something that Matrix 4 would have going for it. The last two were terrible, so this one might redeem it. But even if this one is terrible, they're going to be like, oh yeah, well, it's par for the course.
Fair enough. So for me, at this point, Matrix 4, having not seen any of them, it's kind of a bat noogie, but I feel like I have to see it because it's like a thing in pop culture. So maybe that'll turn it into a Thin Station Bat Cookie.
I'll call it, again, I'll say, if they go for the action movie angle, Bat Cookie. If they go for the philosophical angle, Bat Noogie. I haven't seen any of the trailers, so I can't really pronounce myself on which one it is. But if you've seen the trailer, you know what I think.
And I'm just remembering now, there is another Pixar movie coming out in June called Luca. The trailer just came out this week.
I saw it.
I'm not sure. It seems like a Ghibli movie almost, because it's like about these like sea creatures that can turn into humans.
I mean, sounds like a Ghibli movie is a lot more of a compliment than than a comment, I think. But
I mean, like unoriginal in the sense that it's something that has been seen before.
Yes, but, and I think, because I remember watching this one review for Soul, and it kind of took some shots at the movie, which they well deserve. It well deserves, but it also did bring up something about the one scene where the main character is playing piano, like when he gets into the zone to go talk to number 2, I think, and the argument the person was making is this is Pixar at its best, making you feel emotions, making you understand things through animation, through characters' subtle expression that you wouldn't normally expect. And I think Luca has that potential to be what Pixar can be at its best, even if it's not the most original or the most creative thing. Like, obviously, I wish Pixar would stick to the Pixar theory, start building up this universe where slowly but surely animals and then objects become sentient. But I feel like this is... I saw the trailer today, actually, because YouTube loves putting commercials in the middle of my League of Legends games that I'm trying to watch. But it looked cute. It looked like it had heart, and I think that can go a long way for animation and for meaningful children's animation movies. You know, we talked about Minion. Everything that Minion is not, this has the potential to be. So I'm giving it a Bat Cookie because I do believe in Pixar.
All right, based on your case there, I'm going to give it a Thin Station Bat Cookie. Before I had zero interest, so you've done a good job of winning me over a bit. But that's 2021, at least how it looks right now. So when you look at this list, Beeper, like what is the one movie that you just want them to just like shelve it, like don't even release it?
Not even release it, or release it immediately in one of the streaming service. Like,
good point. Yeah, let's just say just put it out already. Just put it out,
yeah,
even if you lose money.
Black Widow. It needs to be out. It needed to be out a while ago. Never actually release it? I'm stuck between No Time to Die and A Quiet Place.
Oh, okay. For me, the do not release it one is just The King's Man. Just like forget about it already. It's and the one that is just like just put it out now, regardless of like the cost that'll be incurred or the losses financially, is also Black Widow.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody can agree. The thing about the reason why A Quiet Place is just, I think it's not worth it, but I actually do think No Time to Die, from what I've seen, will be detrimental to the James Bond series, which, then again, it depends on who's the next Bond and what they do and how they do it, and it's a strange thing, like, rewatching it with my wife, who had never, Mjornil had never seen any James Bond movie. No, she's seen, like, one or two of the Pierce Brosnan ones, and we started watching the Sean Connerys, and she was understandably appalled at the rampant 60s sexism. And then I think this movie is trying to reconcile that, and I think is showing that it cannot be reconciled, and that you either have to embrace the action stupidity or the action spy-ish things, or just let it die. I also think the spy genre is dying, and should, because it's not relevant anymore.
Now, movie that you're most excited and hope that it comes out this year?
It's still Dune, but there's also not much in there that I'm actually excited for at all. So, and I think it's also just that I don't want to be kept in limbo. I'm getting really excited, and I know it's never going to be as good as I want it to be, but I still want to see it. It's out of that list, that's the only one I want to go see in theaters, for sure.
Oh, almost breaks my heart to hear you say that. For me, of course, it's Spider-Man No Way Home. That is the movie I'm most excited about. I can't wait for it. What gives me the most hope is that because its release date is so far away, I'm hopeful to think that because it is all the way in December, that it won't get pushed farther ahead, that it'll actually like come out in December. And so much good stuff there. But looking at this list, if I think of the movies that kind of got ported over from last year and the ones that are coming out for this year, I am more excited about the movies of 2021 than I was about 2020.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, generally speaking. Again, if I didn't have a huge emotional investment in the story of Dune, almost every movie for 2020 is less exciting than 2021. Like, West Side Story was, like, it's cool. It's a thing that's happening, but everything else, I mean, not that I'm super excited about the 2021 movies, but I think generally speaking, they have a bit more meat on them than the 2020 did.
So there you have it, folks. As of the time of this recording, these are all the films that are going to be released this year. It is entirely likely the ones that are have release dates closer to us will get shifted, and therefore there'll be a cascading effect where everything will kind of get shuffled along, especially for movies that are in the same studio family. Raya and the Last Dragon is coming out this week, so that's kind of that one. If it's changing its release date, it's going to have to happen in the next couple of days. King Kong is supposed to be coming at the end of March, so that one could be the first one we see shifted, as well as Mortal Kombat in April. The rest of them, they're kind of more stacked towards the end of the year, obviously for hopeful releases in theaters. And let us know what you think. Which movies are you excited about? Do you agree or disagree with our cookies and noogies? Because once again, we have no mail.
It makes us very sad. It makes us cry. At night, though, not right now.
If you want to reach the show, you can send us an email at
batjarpodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can tweet us at
The Bat Cookie Jar.
You can find the Bat Jar Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, because we got a channel. Share our posts on Facebook, write reviews, give our shows a rating. This will help all people join us inside the Bat Jar, and we appreciate it dearly.
So we have the Bat Jar here, but I'm going to leave it up to you, Beeper, to decide what we do next week, because as we just said, Rhea and the Last Dragon is coming out, so we could do an episode on that. We could just go into the Bat Jar and pull out a topic. We could, in theory at this point, do an episode kind of diving into the streaming wars of all the different streaming services. I leave it in your capable hands. So the Jar and I are just...
say like I did actually just recently look, and yeah, the theater near me isn't reopening. So maybe we could go into the Badger this week, and if not, put Rhea for a week later, and I'll find a way to either get to a theater or watch it for not next week, but the week after.
All right, so I'm rushing things around inside the bat jar. Oh, I've got two. I'm just going to drop one. All right, what do we have here? The Boys.
Oh, nice. I am excited to talk about that. I'm up to date on it, so I've got opinions.
I am behind, so there we go. So,
but you have started it?
I've seen the first episode when it first aired.
Okay. So you've only seen the first episode?
Yeah, but that's okay. With shows like this that we're covering in the Batchar, I don't necessarily end up watching the whole show. I kind of rely on other people for that. So
yeah, although I mean, if you have time to watch a few more, I'd recommend it. But if not, yeah, I am up to date on it. Unless the new season, the third season hasn't started yet. So
no, yeah. All right, so come back to the Batchar podcast next week when we talk about The Boys. And until that time, I'm Average Joe.
And I'm Beef Pork Ribs.
Catch you on the flip side.
Diabolical.